Did you know that the Book of Mormon has references to horses as part of the story of the Book of Mormon people on 8 occasions? Horses are mentioned in the book in the context of people discovering wild horses, of horses that the people domesticated, horses being kept by the people as potential food sources, and horses coming along in battle. And you may be like, okay, and so what? Well, the Book of Mormon takes place in the Americas, and the entirety of the Book of Mormon is said to take place from about 600 BC to 421 AD, and there were no horses in the Americas at that time. Indigenous American horses went extinct over 10,000 years ago, which is way before any of the events of the Book of Mormon. Horses were not reintroduced in the Americas until Europeans brought them over, starting with Christopher Columbus, who brought 25 to 30 horses on his second voyage to the Americas in 1493, so way after the events of the Book of Mormon took place. This is what we call an anachronism, which is something that doesn't fit in the time period for which it is claimed. Faithful Mormons have spent a lot of time and energy bending over backwards trying to explain these issues, as faithful Mormons often do when confronted with scientific evidence that doesn't fit their worldview. They claim that Joseph Smith likely knew, as everyone did, that horses didn't exist in America at that time, so it couldn't have just been a clumsy mistake or error on his part. But what? Did everyone know? I spent decades of my life believing this book so hard that I centered my whole life around it, and I didn't know that horses didn't exist in America at that time, and I'm living in the internet era. Then they claim that there may have been horses that are smaller and not what we think of as modern horses that didn't go fully extinct and were still around. These claims are seen as fringe with not enough supporting evidence, but maybe the scientific evidence just hasn't caught up yet. And maybe archaeologists are biased against ever finding horse evidence because they feel it's already a foregone conclusion that horses didn't exist at the time. Then there's the discussion about how maybe it's a vocabulary issue. Maybe the people of the time in the Book of Mormon were calling it a horse because that was just the nearest word that they had in their vocabulary to describe such a thing. Or maybe just the closest translation of the word was horse, but it was actually a different type of animal. But there was this shift in the word meanings. An LDS anthropologist famously suggested that maybe they chose the word horse when they actually meant deer or tapir. This is how the tapir came to be one of the symbols for the ex-Mormon community. To be fair, none of the references of horses in the Book of Mormon explicitly mention riding the horses. There is a verse that mentions the horses being present at battle, and several verses mention horses and chariots, but the apologetic perspective is like, can we really be sure the horses were pulling the chariots and that the fighters were riding the horses? Maybe they were just coming along as an extra food source or something. They also claim that we can't be sure the horses were used for doing any kind of work at all. Maybe the horses were just simply food and they actually were talking about a different animal. What do you think? Do you believe the Mormons might have a case about the horse that saves the validity of this particular anachronism in the Book of Mormon, which there are many more, by the way, so many that there is a Wikipedia page listing them all? If you are wondering more about what is in the Book of Mormon, I have a series on my YouTube channel where I tell you the stories of the Book of Mormon, but like in a fun way. Go check it out. And if you thought this video was interesting, feel free to follow along for more Mormon/religious talk. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. I love you. Bye.